This is the Ring of Honor, a.k.a. Shane T, boy, the baddest champion you ever seen, boy.
This is Mr. Anderson.
This is good old JR Jim Ross, and you are listening.
You're listening to Knockouts and 3 Counts.
Cover! We got a new world champion! That might be one of the craziest knockouts I've ever seen in my life.
Knockouts and 3 Counts is the podcast, baby. It's the real deal, baby.
Knockouts and 3 Counts starts now.
What up, no? It's Tuesday. It's another episode of Knockouts and 3 Counts, and hot damn are my eyes deceiving me. Not only does Kevin's mama love him because his Twitter handle is still the same, but he decided he loves us again and has joined us again on Knockouts and 3 Counts after a long hiatus. How you doing, brother, man?
I'm good, bro. I'm good. I'm really good.
Sounds like whoever that in the background is pretty good right now, too, but shit.
Sounds like
they definitely winning.
Not doing so well.
Dom, how the hell are you, man? It's been a little minute. How you doing?
Oh, just been a week, you know.
Yeah, I know. A little minute.
Dude, I have some adult rated stories later. I don't know if they're okay for air.
Probably not, but
No.
probably not a good idea.
That's 3 Counts dark.
Right?
Yeah, right.
That's for the Patreon.
Yeah, that's Patreon exclusive. That's OnlyFans exclusive.
Yeah, I'm not trying to
we
get
OnlyFans now?
Yeah, I'm not trying to get kicked off the air again. Tony Thunder almost already. Kevin, am I lying? Kevin, am I lying or not? Was there ever a disclaimer on Podcast Detroit podcast before that happened?
No, it wasn't.
I mean, I'm just saying. That's why the thoughts and views of Tony Thunder are not necessarily those of Knockouts and 3 Counts of Podcast Detroit. Even though Podcast Detroit is no longer with us and we're with Blue Wire, his thoughts still do not reflect the thoughts of Knockouts and 3 Counts. Shit, man, it's just like old times. But shit, we've got a lot to talk about tonight, dude. There's a lot going on in the world of pro wrestling, the world of MMA, and all that good stuff. I think if anything, you know, we probably we should start from top to bottom, I guess. I mean, you had on Saturday night, you had UFC fight night, and you had Bellator was on. You had the debut of Yoel Romero in Bellator, and then you had Anthony Lionheart Smith against Bryan. And I don't know, man. All in all, it was some pretty good fights. All in all, it wasn't a total downer of a card. I mean, but damn, did we get a couple of gnarly finishes in those fights? Anthony Smith, if for any of you guys that saw that, man, dude, he fucking chokes dude out and then gets over him and is like, where's all that knockout you were talking? You know, so I don't know, Corey. What were your thoughts on the performance of Lionheart?
Well, that's let me preference this with I'm a huge Anthony Smith fan. Pretty much everything that he goes on, he does well in the media. He represents himself as well as you could possibly do as a professional cage fighter. I'm a huge fan, so that going into that fight, of course, I wanted him to win. But the performance that he was able to put on against Ryan Spin was legitimate, like next level. I don't think he took a solid punch from Ryan. I don't think there was really any damage inflicted his way. For him to be able to go into a main event fight with somebody, man, that's loud. But thank you.
It's all good. We're having technical difficulties, ladies and gents. They're trying to get their money on over there. Let them do their thing. We'll let Kev get himself back set up. All right, Kev's back. But what were you saying, Corey? Go ahead.
I was just saying before things got a little heated in the background over there that Anthony Smith's a dog, man. For him to be able to come into this main event and actually come out of that unscathed and put on the performance that he was able to do, it looked great, man. You can't ask for much more. I feel like he's a legitimate contender in the top 5 of the division, coming off a win like that of somebody of Ryan Spann's caliber, who was all but undefeated in the UFC except for one fight, which was against Johnny Walker and his rising come up. So you couldn't really take anything away from him, and the fact that Anthony Smith was able to just run through him and get that first round victory was huge.
Well, what do you think,
what
though?
Kind of generic names? Oh, those are the most generic names: Johnny Walker and Anthony Smith.
Anthony Lionheart Smith,
Anthony
sir.
Smith
Oh,
huh?
Nothing.
I
was
nothing. He was just saying their names were
Lionheart.
generic. I was just busting balls because I said you forgot the Lionheart part. But yeah, dude. I mean, great performance for him. But I mean, what do you see next? Because I think he's going to have to at least fight one more before he gets a title shot.
Yeah, absolutely. There's no question in that. It's just who they end up wanting to match him up with. He called out Alexander Rakic, who he had already had a contest with in the last year. But we've seen 3 fights from Anthony Smith since then. We've only seen Rakic in that fight against Anthony Smith, and now he's wanting to call for a title shot. So it makes sense for them to come back after Anthony Smith was able to get the 3 wins, if that's how they want to book it. If not, I see the winner of, like we had actually just mentioned, the Johnny Walker and Thiago Santos fight. And as much as I'm a huge fan of Anthony Smith and everything that goes on, he doesn't have a lot of control in his matchmaking, whether he's won 3 in a row at this point or not. That's not where he's at this stage in his career. He doesn't really have the say-so, and he can not accept a fight, but then he'll just end up being shelved, and knowing him, that's not how he's going to play it out.
Yeah, man. You know, and for those of you who don't know and are up looking in the shelves of your cabinets, you know, you need to get you one of these twisted tumblers, all right? Not only did they hook us up with some dope cups for Corey and I, shout out to Kathy, the newest member to Knockouts and 3 Counts will be making his debut soon, and I already got the little homie hooked up with his own Knockouts and 3 Counts cups, courtesy to the fine listeners and watchers and viewers. Kathy Hoogerhide, check her out. We'll definitely throw her stuff in there for Twisted Tumblers because I greatly appreciate that. You didn't have to do that, and yeah, really appreciate it.
Moms, dads out there, don't think their cups are just cups. They got sippy cups for your kids, too.
We got you covered. Knockouts 3 Counts is for the kids. And speaking, and there she is. Thank you, Kathy. Thank you.
It's definitely for the kids. That's why we can't talk about my weekend here.
Yeah, that might be a good idea. But I mean, dude, we're on the final countdown because I'm about to go into my last year of my 20s, son of a bitch. On Saturday, I get older, and damn it, I'm getting older, you know, and my mom can't claim 29 anymore because I'm gonna be 29. I mean, that'd be some other shit.
I forget.
I mean,
she gotta at least be 45 now.
She gotta at least be 45 now.
That's what you gotta tell her.
You gotta at least be 45. You know, now just to be an asshole because I know she'll end up seeing this at some point. I totally was gonna put a big, you know, when she turned 40, we had to one of her friends put the big 4-0 in our front yard when we used to live in Dearborn Heights. So when she turned 60, I was about to put a big 6-0 in the front yard.
That's really?
I was gonna do it, but I knew it wouldn't be a bad idea. Now you see it. I was gonna do it. It's too late.
You had your ass beat. It could happen today.
Hi, Mom.
It could be today. Really? Oh, you are begging for it.
That's real.
You are something else, brother.
No, you gotta follow the rule that you gotta be at least 45, though.
I heard you.
See, Dom was sticking up. Dom was sticking up for you.
That's because Dom don't want none of this shit either. Neither does
Oh no,
Corey.
I don't want those hands. I don't want none of those hands.
That's why.
Get these hands. Oh wait, that's Braun Strowman's
I
gimmick.
got him, buddy. I got him.
Apparently,
Well,
she's got the hands.
Well, not to divide too much off topic. While we're still on the,
that was great.
Hey, you never know what's going to happen on knockouts and 3 counts. I told you never know who would show up here. So, yeah, like I said, you never know who's going to show up.
Maybe The Rock will show up.
Hell yeah. Put that into the ether, bro. Put that into the ether. I am down with that. But speaking of the MMA from the weekend, there was also Bellator 266, man.
Before we jump to Bellator, I do have a couple names for anybody who is still interested in the UFC end of the MMA world. Ion Kutilaba absolutely destroyed Devin Clark's teeth. For anybody who missed that one was vicious and nasty.
Ugh, that was nasty.
Yeah, that dental bill I heard was about $5,000.
That was rough. His whole bottom section of his like underneath his teeth looked like it separated, like his jaw at the gum line broke. That was vicious.
His shit got muffed up.
And that was
he got muffed
round, up. And he won the third round, in my opinion, or at least was competitive in that third round. He's
gonna be having to drink out of a sippy cup, bro. He's gonna have to drink out of a sippy cup.
But even with that damage,
man, we got to get him a twisted tumbler real quick.
In the corner, if he should go on, and he was like, you're already here. What worse is gonna happen? So he fought out the third round, knowing that he had that kind of damage to him. So shout out Devin Clark. I know he's on a bit of a skid right now, but I hope the UFC doesn't release somebody who's that willing to perform given the circumstances. So
I get it. I do, and I do admire that grit. But what worse could happen? There's plenty worse that could happen.
I don't disagree. If it was my teeth falling out like that, I would probably have just waved the red flag myself and sat on the corner.
The white flag.
I'm done. Throw in the towel. I'm done after that. But another fighter that needs to be mentioned on the night, Ariana Lipski, absolutely dominated. She looked incredible. And other than that, we can go ahead and jump into Bellator. There was a couple names in the prelims, but I ain't going to bore you guys with that stuff.
Corey is your A1 fight encyclopedia, even though he doesn't want to come with us to the fights this Friday, Dom. I mean, hot damn, what's wrong with this guy?
Life.
Man,
his daughter got something going on Friday.
I do not know.
I've been busy all fucking week and all last week, and Kyle hits me up in the middle of me working hard on what? I wasn't even home from work, and you're like, "You want these tickets?" And I'm like,
"No." I said, "Do you want to go to a fight?" Is what I said.
Yeah. Well, you caught me at a very work mode. Is a completely different person. Put it that way.
I'm just throwing it out there because it's going down this Friday. Clip Promotions, Motor City Casino. We may have a special guest from that card coming up, not tonight, but maybe on Thursday. But we've got past guests galore all over this one. So you got Jesse Bazzi is going to be going to war with Taylor Moore. And, Taylor Moore has fought in China and all kinds of stuff like that. And Bazzi's already fought in LFA and pro boxing and all that. So that's going to be a banger. And then you've got past guest of the show, Marco Smallman is stepping back into the cage against, man, this one is very interesting. It's going to be very interesting because, Floyd and Marco and all of us trained together. Well, when Floyd went over to Michigan Top Team, that was when everybody split. Well, both of these guys used to train together, and now they're going to fight each other. So it's going to be a fun one, dude. And I mean, both of these guys have been on the radar. I mean, Marco's already fought. Marco's already fought CFFC. Like I said, Bazzi and LFA. So I mean, these guys are right there, dude. So that's going to be a banger of a fight. We definitely going to have to check that out. And like we were saying, we saw the debut of, Yoel Romero in Bellator against Phil Davis. And I mean, look, dude, Call it what you want, call it what you will, but dude couldn't pull the trigger.
A dud? That's what I call it. If you're saying call it what you want, I call it a dud because nothing happened in that fight. If you're on the Yoel Romero side, if you're on the Phil Davis side, who I was actually leaning on in this fight because I feel like he's highly underrated as a serious competitor throughout his career. He just doesn't always have the most entertaining style. But with that being said, he looked amazing. He poured it on Yoel from pillar to post. He absolutely won the fight 3 rounds to 0. I don't know what the fuck one of those judges was talking about at all. Like that's something we bring up MMA judging all the time, Kyle, on the show. But you watch that fight. Is there any possible way you could have scored even a round for Yoel?
Hell no.
In the fact
Hell no. I didn't understand that either, dude. I didn't see one round that I saw for Yoel Romero at all.
At least the one thing that can be said about that is that card took place in California, and California is usually pretty good about providing some form of questioning to the very questionable judges when they do stuff like this. So at least we may see some light at the end of that tunnel just because it happened to take place under a state that actually gives a shit about their sporting, I guess you could say. Their commission actually half-ass cares. But with that being said, it was a landslide. I was worried this was what we were going to see from Yoel.
Yoel Romero is also 44 years old, ladies and gentlemen. Like, come on, man.
But so is Vitor Belfort, and look at what Vitor just went and did. I mean,
don't even compare the two.
Okay.
Vitor Belfort is hopped up on TRT and fought a 59-year-old.
Yeah. All right. Well, you want to talk about old guy? Yoel,
but he also wasn't fighting.
Was a huge exception. I feel like age absolutely showed its course in this fight. If you want to say that it started to rear its ugly head while he was still in the UFC, and the UFC released him at the perfect time, because they seen the dud that he put on as well in the Israel Adesanya fight, then you can say that, because I agree this was an absolute dud. But I don't know if it's so much an age thing. I think it's just he's unwilling to pull the trigger.
I'm just saying the comparison to Holyfield is unfair because Holyfield's also almost 60, dude.
Yeah.
There's a big difference. Yoel Romero has still been fighting the best guys in the world in recent time. That's my point.
And Phil Davis is, well, that's why I'm saying, like, you can still pull the trigger like Vitor did. Whether it was against a 60-year-old guy or whatever you want to say, he was still.
Yoel Romero didn't pull the trigger at all, though.
Huh? Well,
Yoel Romero didn't pull the trigger.
That's what I'm saying. Is he did not, like Vitor was able to. That's what I'm saying. Is that people at that age still are able to show some form of offense to their game. And as much as Yoel Romero being the exception, being the fact that he is the man made of steel, basically, showed that age still doesn't matter and is catching up to his ass at this point. That's what I'm getting at.
I gotcha. Well, either way, man, all I'm saying is it wasn't a good look for Yoel Romero, and I gotta imagine that wasn't what Bellator was hoping for Yoel Romero either in their first foray into the cage with Yoel Romero. But we talked about Yoel Romero. We talked about Bellator 266. I mean, we're talking about things that are debuting. There's big news on the wrestling end. It was reported earlier, was it yesterday? Yesterday, that AEW has partnered with the Owen Hart Foundation, and there will now be a cup called the Owen in AEW. This is major news for any of you guys that don't know or know the story. I mean, WWE has tried to do things with Owen Hart and that family for years, and Owen Hart's wife has been adamant that she didn't want anything to do with them, being how Owen passed on his way to the ring in WWE. And so for this to be happening, first of all, good on you, AEW, because his legacy, I feel like, definitely needs to be well represented. And even better yet, the fact that you got a tournament with it when there used to be, you know, they got the Opera Cup that Davey Boy Smith brought out to MLW. You know, it's cool to see some of this brought around, and definitely for somebody who, in my opinion, deserves to have their legacy, enshrined like that. So, Kev, you've been a long time since you've been on the show. What are your thoughts on the Owen Hart Cup and AEW teaming up with the Owen Hart Foundation?
I think it's a good look. I think it's a good look for the wrestling company in all because, I know they've been trying to do something with Martha for so long. Martha Hart for so long. Was it? Yeah. It was for a while. She. But really rewarded. Huh? No.
You're freezing up, Kev.
It was a reason. It was a reason for her to do. Is that I'm frozen up?
Yeah, it's like we're getting every other word.
Yeah,
it's frozen.
Yeah, you're froze up, bro.
Do you want me to go and while he figures this stuff out?
Yeah, go ahead, Dom. What do you got on the Owen Hart? The Owen Hart.
I don't know why anyone first of all, yeah, good on the company, but I don't understand why anyone would be surprised by this. It might be one of those things that I wasn't expecting this right now, but the fact that they're doing it, I'm not surprised by it at all. Tony Khan is a known wrestling fan, and Martha Hart has said in the past, "I'm not going to allow the WWE to have anything to do with my husband's likeness or anything like that. I simply won't do it with the company that killed him, and more or less. And that's how she feels. And then when you look at how they handled Brody Lee's death, why wouldn't, if AEW were to come to Martha Hart and you were to see how they handled Brody Lee's death, would you not go and say, you know what? Yeah, I have faith that you'll do my husband's name well. I don't see how this would be a surprise to anybody. Yeah, it's a great move. I like it. And it gives, like I'm saying, we need to find something to do to give some of these guys coming in a push. How are we going to keep guys busy without giving them the fullest push? You need to give them something to do to keep them away from the title hunt. It's just great. It's a great idea. So I don't see a real negative to this at the moment. And I don't see why anybody would be surprised by it. But I think I don't have anything negative to say. And if you've been listening, I haven't been on a whole lot, but how many times do I always have something negative to say, even if it's good? I don't have much negative to say about this, so I should say a lot.
I hear you. Well, Kev, what about you? What were you trying to say when it comes to the Owen Hart Cup?
Well, I'm saying, I think it's a good look for the company in all, because his legacy has to be represented somehow.
I completely agree with you on that one, dude. I completely agree with you. Like I said, I'm looking forward to it. Corey, for you, I know you did a little bit of reading into it and, checking it out. What are your thoughts on the Owen Hart Cup?
Me and you had a short discussion about it before the show, kind of clearing up a couple of the details, and you had actually told me that not all the details are clear at this moment, whether or not it's going to be taking place over one night at a pay-per-view or something like that, or whether it's going to be spread out over weeks, whether it's going to be whatever the case be of how they actually end up handing out the cup, I guess you could say. But the thought is awesome, because not only does it basically enshrine the Owen Hart name for wrestling history, or at least the history of AEW, however long that ends up being. It's a great look in that regard, because everybody's going to remember, why is it named the Owen Cup? Kind of like if you look at like the Walter Payton Award for football or something along those lines. Like, even if you don't know who that is, you may be curious to look it up, because why is somebody being handed this award? Why is somebody being handed the Heisman Award? What makes that special? What makes the Owen Hart
the Lombardi Trophy?
Yeah. Other than the fact it's a cool trophy, which I'm sure AEW will do with their cup. I'm sure it'll look sweet. But there will be some significance to it, and it will make new and emerging fans aware of what brought us to the current day of wrestling, I guess you could say. So in that regard, I think it's awesome. Like Dom had brought up even in past shows, I think it's a really good idea in the fact of they have a bunch of talent that they keep bringing in, like you had mentioned before, that they only have so many belts that people can contest for, and this is a legitimate something that will give the shine to somebody that isn't necessarily holding the championship at the moment. So I think that's also a very valid point.
I mean, and that was something I was going to touch on. I mean, to go off of both of your points, I mean, I was there at Revolution. Ring the bell. But at Revolution, they had the brass ring, battle royal. I mean, you could use this as like their version of like either Money in the Bank in WWE or Option C in Impact or whatever. Have them win that, and if you win the Owen Cup, you're guaranteed a title shot, or whatever the case is, however they deem to make that go. I mean, I definitely, like I said, I think it's a good look. But that's as good a way as any to transition into the fact that we've got a hell of a show that's going down tomorrow, and then they're making it a 2-hour Rampage on Friday because they're going live from the Arthur Ashe Stadium in New York, which from what I've seen, they've sold 18,000 seats already. So they've already had to reconfigure it a couple times. It's going to be the biggest audience AEW has had in its existence so far. And I mean, they have stacked the card like crazy. I mean, just to go over some of the matches, I mean, you've got Brit Baker versus Ruby Soho for the title. You got Kenny Omega versus Bryan Danielson, his first match in AEW. Corey and I were there for the debut of that, which you can check out the vlog in the past videos. Then you got the return of Cody Rhodes against Malachi Black. And then you got FTR versus Sting and Darby Allin. So Sting is going to be wrestling on TNT again. And then you've got MJF versus Brian Pillman Jr. So, yeah, dude, it's a hell of a card, dude. So what are your guys' thoughts? Dom, what are your thoughts on this card? And is there anything in particular that sticks out to you in this one?
What do I think about this card?
Yeah, like, is there anything in particular that you're most looking forward to seeing on Wednesday?
The Danielson match. What was the other one? I mean, it is kind of exciting to see Sting, but I'm always kind of apprehensive to see Sting wrestle at the same time. You know what I mean? Like, what was the other match? There was the first one you mentioned. I'm having a brain fart. Not Cody and Malachi Black.
Let me see. I got it right here. You got MJF, Brian Pillman. You got Ruby Soho versus Britt Baker.
No. I mean, yeah, that's exciting, but not the one I was talking about.
Cody and Malachi, and then you got MJF, Brian Pillman.
Said that one.
Yeah, I don't know. That's the whole card. You got. No.
Maybe it was Wednesday. No, but they do have a big week this week. As I was looking at, like, those are all big matches. But out of those ones, yeah, Daniel Bryan and Kenny Omega match. I'm kind of nerding out for that one. I hate to sound like, I don't know, every other wrestling fan out there, but yeah, that's the one I'm excited for. Like, it's been a long time coming.
Is that his actual? I know he's made a couple appearances in the ring and stuff like.
It'll be his in-ring debut. Yeah,
that's what I was gonna say. That's his actual debut, though, isn't it?
Yeah. And to have him go straight after Kenny Omega, though, dude, it's Dom. More of the homies are in here checking you out, man. Like I said,
man, what up, JKB?
Yeah, man, we're talking about the big AEW card on Wednesday, man. If you got anything, feel free to throw it in the comments. But
we were just talking about Kenny Omega and Bryan Danielson making his debut against Kenny Omega. But do you find it interesting that it's not for the title? Like, that doesn't that mean that
I think
Bryan
it's good
Danielson,
that it's not for the title.
I'm saying, does that mean that? Because I do agree, but at the same time, because I don't think Bryan Danielson should be coming off immediately getting a title shot. But I also feel like that gives away the finish, being that it's for the title. I think, or it's not for the title. I'm assuming Bryan Danielson's going over.
Well, that's the thing. I feel like a lot of people automatically, especially in a situation like this, everybody's quick to say, well, is Bryan Danielson going to win? Is Kenny going to win? If anything,
unless there's some fuckery.
Here's the thing, though. We've already seen Kenny's lost. Hell, he lost to Christian, but he won at All Out. So, I mean,
right.
but I mean, the thing is, you gotta, any way this goes, you know, Bryan's got to look tough. And if anything, you have a drag out banger. I mean, what's to say that there doesn't end up being, I mean, Gallows and Anderson come out, or, you know, the Young Bucks come out to help.
That was what
I'm sure
that's going to be.
I'm sure there ends
way.
up being some kind of fuckery that'll make it keep going. But I mean, for them to be able to pull that out in the biggest crowd they've ever had, which is going to be 17,000 people, the first time they ever had wrestling in the Arthur Ashe Stadium. I mean, that's a hell of a way to kick it off, and that's not even the whole card. I mean, then you got Ruby Soho.
That's the opening match.
Well, no, I mean that's probably going to be your main event, I would imagine.
Okay.
But you've
said
also
that, and that's just what's kicking it off. I'm like, what?
But I mean, I mean, that was just the first match that we had talked about on there.
Right.
Okay. I mean, you got Britt
Ruby
Baker
Soho
versus Ruby Soho. That's going to be a really good match, in my opinion.
I want to touch on that for a second.
Go ahead.
Their back and forth.
Yes.
On Rampage was great. You have
Yes.
Brit Baker saying you're trying to find yourself. Well, you got a new tattoo. You paint your hair every color of the rainbow. How many name changes have you had this year? Like, we're doing all this so you can help find yourself. And
how about when she called her out for saying she got fired, and then Ruby was coming back with that heat, talking about you're just like every other girl in the back, kissing ass and banging a dude in the back.
Right. And on top, what's more, she said, okay, you might say I'm trying to find myself, but you're out here trying to remind everyone who you are. Like, you have to tell everyone week after week after week. So how good can you be, kind of thing. I'm like, okay, I'm digging this. This is some great back and forth.
Yeah, dude, they definitely were going at it.
Yeah, some solid digs.
So like I said, dude, this match definitely is going to be. This match is going to be something that I feel like, obviously, with Omega and Danielson, everybody's going to be looking at that match. But dude, don't sleep on this one, because I got to give a lot of credit to Brit Baker. You know, not that I don't think she was good before, but she's really stepped up, I feel like, since she won
carrying the division for the entire pandemic. And
I mean, it's hard to argue.
She's the hottest female in all of wrestling in the last, 18, 20 months?
That's unarguable at this point, outside of Bianca Belair, and I mean WWE basically
can't even. Bianca Belair had a moment, but there is no one at any point who has been any hotter.
I'm not saying she's not the hottest. I'm not saying she's not the hottest, but I'm saying the only one who might have been close was Bianca Belair before they cooled her off.
My thing is, I don't think Bianca Belair was ever even as hot as Brit Baker at any point. Like, sure, she was hot, but not. Brit Baker has been the best thing in all of women's wrestling for over a year and a half now.
Really?
In my opinion, yes.
I mean, it's hard to argue, dude. I mean, between the shit with her and Thunder Rosa, that was great.
Bayley was nice too. Bayley was nice at the beginning of the pandemic. She's been good throughout, but really in the very beginning of the pandemic, when she's just talking crap to Michael Cole on commentary because she could hear him and go, "Shut up, Michael!" Like, what are you talking about? Like, that was great. Loved it. But I still think Britt Baker's been the best woman in the past 18 months.
Okay, we got people coming in the comments. He says, I would rather a badass hardcore female wrestler than a hot one reminiscent of a Chyna from classic WWE. So then you'd be a big fan of the Camille the Brickhouse, the NWA champ then.
So he wouldn't. I want to know if he's seen Jade Cargill, though.
We're coming right at you, man. Have you seen Jade Cargill? I mean, if you look up Storm and then look at Jade Cargill, they look pretty similar.
Jade Cargill is probably going to be the closest thing to a new Chyna, yet at the same time, she's not
gorgeous.
Yeah.
Well, I don't know about gorgeous, but yeah, she's attractive. I would definitely say she's attractive. She got I didn't really find Chyna to have all that, sex appeal. Like,
but that was my whole point, though. People always bagged on China, saying, "Oh, she's a man and she's big and all that." Jade Cargill, I feel like, brings the best of both worlds. She's a fucking insane athlete,
and she got charisma on top of that too.
Right, and it doesn't look like it's forced. She just gets on the mic and talks shit, and she can back it up with her athleticism.
I am that bitch. Like, oh, okay. Look at all that sass.
Hey, bro. I mean, it's working for her, bro.
I know you said you wouldn't put the gorgeous label on her, Dom. I would say, even if she isn't necessarily my taste, because I don't prefer women with that many muscles, she could definitely fit that category just under other people's taste, I guess you could say.
I could definitely see why other people find her. I said she's attractive. Yeah. I just don't know if I'd say gorgeous. That's
I'm just mainly pointing at that every time you see, like, look at all the shit that Charlotte got for so long because she was more muscled than a lot of the other girls, dude.
Okay, wait. Jade Cargill is like way up here and Charlotte's like here.
I'm just saying, look at how everybody shit. But my point is, look how everybody shit on her, and I feel like nobody can really say that when we're talking about Jade Cargill.
Okay,
that's my point.
I never needed that outburst. I apologize.
Sometimes it'd be like that, but we got another match to talk about that is really intriguing for me because I really don't know. I'm really interested to see how they work their way out of this one because you got Cody Rhodes returning to take on Malachi Black, who's absolutely decimated him since he's come in, damn near made the man retire.
Everybody,
not
just
and that
he's the entire Nightmare family.
Right, and that's what makes this match intriguing. What is Cody gonna do that's gonna make this so much different? You know, so it's really gonna be interesting to see how it goes. Because I would argue, man, I mean, and a lot of people can say what you will when it comes to Cody Rhodes and things like that, but in my opinion, Cody Rhodes is one of the best pure baby faces in wrestling in the last few years. Like the stuff he was doing, Andy can go right back and do the heel thing, but I don't know, man. Malachi Black, I mean, Corey, you and anybody who's watched our show for any length of time, bro, knows that I was such a big Aleister Black fan. I think now with Malachi Black here in AEW, we're going to finally see what he's capable of doing. And I mean, dude, I think they're playing it smart. They got him. He's saying the cryptic stuff like he's really good at, but not saying too much to where it loses its luster.
I'm digging the Greek mythology references where he's talking about, I'm going to put coins over your eyelids so you can pay the boat toll. Because do you guys understand what that reference is in regards to that trip to Hades?
I don't. Enlighten me.
If you don't have the toll, the 2 tokens, like because they would do that when you would die in like battle or something, or they would put someone you cared about, you would put the coins over their eyes so they had the boat toll to pay to get to Hades, so you're not stuck in that river of like purgatory, like. All of the souls that can't get stuck in like that's their purgatory. If you don't have those coins, pay the boat toll, you're stuck in purgatory until someone can pay it for you. So he's like, yeah, I'm going to send you to the afterlife and I'll pay your fee to get there. Like, that's literally what he said. That is dope. Like, so, and I remember when I said I don't want to see MJF and I don't want to see Jericho. I don't want to see that match because I don't want to see Jericho, beat MJF, and I don't want to see Jericho retire. This is one of those things. This is one of those matches, unless one storyline I can think of, because I was racking my brain going, what would make me okay with this match? Because I really don't want to see it. I'm like, I'm getting bored with this whole Nightmare family and Malachi Black. I get it. He needs something to do. I'm just bored with it. The only way.
Really? Because, I mean, I feel like, in my opinion, with Cody not being on TV every week and him getting to kind of run through people like that and basically running Cody off of TV like that.
I understand it. I understand it.
Well, I hear you, and I get. Do you think it's because Cody's not been on TV to go back and forth with him every week? Because I personally like that part.
I've enjoyed Malachi Black's promos. I haven't enjoyed like Dustin going off on a promo, or I've enjoyed the storytelling, like the story they've told. I just haven't had fun watching it. It's not a bad story. I don't want to say that it's bad writing. It's good, but I just don't. I haven't enjoyed it. But what would make me enjoy it is if Cody loses, and after this, Cody goes through a funk, a losing streak, and Malachi Black can say, like, I've I don't know, stolen your power, your life's force, your wrestling for whatever. Like, and it's just in Cody's head. Like, he's having trouble bouncing back, and he loses and loses and loses and loses. And eventually he has a get right match. But unless you're going to do that, what is the point of this? You're going to tease Cody retiring again? Or you're going to ruin Malachi Black's momentum for what?
Well, and that's the thing that makes
Cody can be salvaged even if he has a losing streak.
I would argue Cody does need to win, though. Because think about it. He got decimated by Malachi Black, was going to retire, couldn't even retire because the man jumped him. He beat the shit out of his whole family and the people associated with his family. I mean, Cody has gotten...
For a wrestling storyline, you got to give him something, but I think for his career...
Not even just for a wrestling storyline. I mean, at a certain point, if Cody keeps losing every time you get in one of these big storylines, I mean, shit. I mean, and who knows?
Well, then you shouldn't put him in the ring with Malachi Black. How about that?
Sure, but you say that. But here's my counterpoint. Here's my counterpoint to it, though. If you pay attention to the man's social media, there's also been some pictures that have resurfaced of Stardust. So what if Malachi Black knocks Cody into the deep end? And then, you know what I mean?
Okay. You know what? If he's going to do a Stardust, that kind of goes. It's an alteration of his character.
Obviously, it wouldn't be called Stardust, but
right. But you know what? That's a different version of what I'm saying. Maybe he doesn't have to go through the losing streak, but a definite character change would be. I could welcome that. Maybe he turns him heel. What if it turns him heel?
So JKB says he needs a promo like the Stone Cold promo.
Stone Cold Steve Austin, I think, is what he's saying.
Yeah, he's saying Stone Cold's promo from ECW. I think it could work, man, but here's the thing. I mean, they basically already kind of had him cut that when he comes in, but I mean, I think, hell, have him do a sit-down with him and JR. I mean, everybody knows his history with JR and his family. Have him sit down with him and have Cody talk about how it's mentally fucking him. And you got to realize the guy's got the reality show with his new baby that's coming and his wife and all that. They've been filming there.
What if
Cody comes... Right, Roads to the Top, which is going to debut this week, matter of fact, I believe.
More stuff to watch.
I mean, but think about it. My point is with that, like,
Corey's what over there dying?
Corey's not going to watch it all anyway.
But he gets it. He's like, man, when you got a podcast, you got stuff you don't really want to watch, but you got to watch for the show.
Well, no, but I mean, think about it. That's a perfect way to play into it, though. Like, what if Cody went on there and they did, like, the interview segment, and then Cody just goes like, look, dude, between being an EVP, wanting to still be a wrestler, about to be a father, got a reality TV show, got a pregnant wife at home, still got to do all my media obligations, was on a TV show. It's making me crack. And then I got to deal with my responsibilities as a man with Malachi Black, who's running through, knocking out all my family and the Nightmare, the Nightmare family and all that stuff. Dude, have Cody talk about how it goes off the deep end. Because, I mean, people can say what they want, but, man, Cody Rhodes has got as big a hand as anybody else in AEW, dude, from its jump.
And how do you think this is going to tie in with the Gun Club? Because eventually, somewhere
got to. It's got to, especially with them turning heel.
Right.
Well, you could circle back around to Cody and MJF again. Because are they aligned? Did they align with MJF, or did they just say they were just trying to separate from everybody?
You talking about the Gun Club?
The Gun Club. Because they jumped the Big Show, but it was when Big Show was going at it with the factory.
They just said that they felt undervalued. They've been undefeated on, everywhere. So, like, why aren't we getting respect?
More comments. Reflection on his family's dynasty with a new child and need for redemption for his sake. I mean, dude, even that, like I said, Cody Rhodes is one of the best baby faces in wrestling. You go to the straight ultimate white meat baby face, according to JKB. And, I got to win because I can't have my son seeing me out here like this. There's a million different
first memories of his non-conscious.
They don't want to see their daddy a loser. But that's all the more reason we got to check out AEW on Wednesday, dude. It's gonna be dope. They're obviously throwing
Wednesday
all hands
like
on.
That isn't tomorrow,
right? But I mean, we got NXT that's going on tonight. There's a lot of wrestling in the world, my friend. There's a lot of wrestling in the world.
Rose to the top. Just one more thing we gotta watch.
Oh yeah,
that's what I'm talking about. There's a lot of wrestling in the world.
That's how I feel on the MMA world, man. When you include the podcast, when you include all the shows, I was just watching Contender Series just before this. You had both Bellator and UFC both on Saturday this week, so at least I only had to include one day in my weekend schedule for MMA. But including all the CFFC I watch and all the Cage Warriors and everything else, it's a stacked book to keep up with all this shit. It really is. Podcasts are just a whole nother ballgame. It really adds to it. And when you talk about individual shows or something like that for athletes or something like that, that's a whole nother level, man. That's like when it even divulges that much further. Like, I'm already kind of having to nitpick and choose which shows I actually want to entertain to watch this week over the next. It's
Corey, but before you finish that point, I just need to let everybody know who's watching right now, especially any of you guys who are new or any of that kind of stuff. We need to make sure that you hit that find subscribe button. Just because this here show is a show that you want to make sure you're watching weekly, whether it's on Tuesdays and Thursdays. Because hell, next week it's been confirmed. I mean, we're going to have Gil Gordado, one of the coaches at Extreme Couture, who also happens to be the coach for a guy named, John Moxley. Ever heard of him? Guy from AEW? Ooh. Yeah. Yes, sir. Gil Gordado will be.
Did that guy have the strap for a minute?
He might have been the champ, might have went and fought in Bloodsport. He might have the GCW title right now, man.
Wait, isn't he the guy wrestling all the NJPW guys?
Yeah, man. I think he might even have gone against Kojima.
Who?
And apparently John is trying to let us all know that XFC is coming. And hey, if you guys are MMA fans, man, you know that when it comes to XFC, there's only one place that you can come check it out to find out all the news. I mean, we all know that our homie Bobby Nash is going to be taking home that XFC strap once LaRue Burley gets healed up. I mean, the man's on a 3 knockout streak. And thank you to all of you guys who are joining. Make sure you hit that subscribe button, the like button, drop it in the comments. We want to know what you think. We're talking about AEW Grand Slam that's going down tomorrow. But we talked a little bit about AEW, but there was another thing that went down in wrestling on Friday, Corey, that you wanted to talk about. And that's, we've seen the reemergence of Brock Lesnar right at this point. And, I've got some thoughts on that, being that we've got the Extreme Rules pay-per-view that's coming this Sunday, and it's supposed to be Roman Reigns versus the Demon Finn Balor. But I mean, it seemed like to me, especially on SmackDown, a lot of that focus, a lot of the focus was on Roman versus Brock. So, I mean, do you think all the talk about Brock versus Roman and, the potential of something like that going down at Survivor Series has completely killed Extreme Rules?
I thought it was supposed to be in Saudi Arabia.
Well, so the Prince wants Brock versus Roman in Saudi Arabia, but the reason I bring up Survivor Series is because you remember you've got all the different champion versus champion. You have the champion versus champion matches that are going to go down there. What if Brock beats Roman? I mean, that changes the whole
night. What happened to Night of Champions? Are we not doing that anymore?
I don't know if that one's still on the roster. I know we got Extreme Rules is going down this weekend. We're going to get Bianca versus Becky, which that's going to be a great match. But that's why I say, dude, it's like, I feel like it's overshadowing this pay-per-view that's going down this weekend.
And it tells you, again, this is one of those things. It makes it a match I don't want to see. So to answer your question, if we know that Brock and Roman is happening at a later date, that makes me think. Sorry, I'm reading JKB's question. And I mean, I think that there should be guys on the roster. Like, I mean, we've talked about Bobby Lashley being a good opponent. I feel like Matt Riddle could be a legitimate opponent. Randy Orton was supposed to get suplexed like John Cena years and years ago, and John Cena got just jobbed out to him. But back to the question of does the Survivor Series match with Roman and Brock take the luster out of Extreme Rules? Yeah. Well, yeah. When you know Finn Balor and Roman Reigns are going to be the main event, normally without knowing if they haven't announced that Brock and Roman are going to wrestle, then I'm thinking, oh wow, this is going to be a great match. I want to see this. Are we getting the Demon? And can the Demon beat Roman? But once you plan out Roman versus Brock, we know Vince is going to want Roman versus Brock. He wants that match. He wants Roman to finally look like he's conquered the beast, literally. He's beaten him once, right? But I think he wants to, I don't know.
Well, I feel like this is a totally different Roman, so they need to make him look strong.
But Roman's already beaten the rest of the fucking roster. He's already beaten everybody. If he beats Brock, there is nobody left.
And I agree, but then again, look what we had. That ties in perfectly to what we had happen on Raw, man. I mean, like I said, I, for one, am really looking forward to seeing what happens with Bianca Belair versus the returning Becky Lynch at Extreme Rules. That match still has me intrigued. I think Alexa Bliss versus Charlotte, in a way, intrigues me. But, I mean, like you said, that's a problem that they're running with. But that's what's so crazy about what we saw on Monday Night Raw last night, though. We've talked for how many weeks about how Raw has been basically unbearable and been hard to watch. But last night they had a thread going pandemic. Right. And I mean, they had a thread going through the whole thing. Bobby Lashley, coming out and getting involved in a 6-man. It was the bloodline with Roman and his cousins, the Usos, versus, you had Big E and the New Day. And Bobby Lashley comes out and gets involved, and that gets us to the end of the night, which ends in Bobby Lashley versus Roman Reigns versus Big E. And dude, they had a badass match there. John, I see in the comments, I'm not sure if they're going to be on NBC and Fox as well, but I know they have been running on Fox Sports too. We got more people jumping in here for Dom. What up, man? Hey man, so like I said, it's interesting because this brings up another valid argument, and I'd love to know what you guys would think about this in the comments as well. I mean, Dom, do you think it's time that maybe we go back to where they don't have the brand split anymore? Because I mean, the ability to have both Roman and Big E on the same show and all that made for a lot more exciting Raw, man.
It would be very on my end. It would be very surprising if they were to do that. When was the last time they actually did encompass both rosters?
2002.
When they mixed them all.
Yeah.
Well, 2002 is when they did the brand split, but they did that because they were getting all that talent from WCW too.
Yeah.
No, but he's saying when do they all?
So 2002 is when they split. That's what I'm saying. He's
wondering when the last time they were together, but that wasn't so long ago. Was that like 2017, 2018?
But they were still, they still had them. I mean, they were having them to where they were intersecting, but they haven't fully just been one roster since like 2002.
Nah, that's not true.
Yeah.
That's not true.
I guarantee you. Go ahead and look it up.
Split.
Just because they had them going across the brands, they were still SmackDown and Raw. The last time they were one big roster.
I understand what you're talking about. You're saying the wild card rule, but they had called. There was a time not too many years ago where they were like, you show up on any and all of them. Right? Like Charlotte was like, yeah, I'm needed here too on Raw and Smack. Like they need me everywhere. Like,
well, yeah, but that was because Charlotte hadn't chosen what she was going to do with because that, if I'm not mistaken, that was when Rhea had won the Royal Rumble,
you know
and the reason
You're right
why
about that one. You're right about that part. But I'm still before, like well before that. Hold on. When was the last? Dre, there are a myriad of reasons why they won't be going back to the Attitude Era. Sponsors being many of them, and Vince's reluctancy to challenge said sponsors. But every time they try and do something a little too extra, they go, oh, like the sponsors get upset, and Vince goes, oh, okay, we're not going to do blood and guts. We're not going to.
I got no problem with that either, JKB. I mean, I got no problem with that either, bro. But I mean, that's the thing. Survivor Series, you know, when they did the brand splits, it was always Raw versus SmackDown. And if you go back a couple years, when they included NXT as a third brand in there, I thought it was really good. And I thought it did a lot of good for NXT at this point. But I think
2016, that's when they had the brand split again.
But how long were they together though? Because I don't feel like they were together for that long though. I don't feel like that was even more than like a yearish run.
Nope, it was from 2011 to 2016.
That doesn't seem accurate. I'm gonna look this up, and we're gonna have to reconvene on this one because
something period apparently, according to my quick research, a 5-year period where there was.
I'm gonna have to go back and do some research because I feel like it's been longer than that. But either way, 5 years or however long it's been, the brand split's been going on for a little while. I personally think with the way, I think the difference in the way that between Raw and SmackDown, like I say, I just feel like if you had a more fire-powered, go ahead.
They unified the titles with Randy Orton and John Cena, right? That was right around like they were. Yeah, it was during that time. I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, and I mean, my thing with that is, like I said, man, I just think having more firepower for Rob right now is not a bad thing. Well, like Raw has been getting shit on for all that time, and like I said, that was the best episode they've had in a while. I think it would help. What were you going to say, Corey?
Well, I was just going to say before it kind of got lost in the weeds of whether or not it happened or whatever the case, I was going to ask when it happened last because I wanted to know how memorable of an impact it had made. And since both of you diehards had to look up when it actually happened, it looked like it didn't make that big of a difference. Am I right? So I don't see them going that route. Like I feel like they've done.
But like I said, though,
I'm not going that route. I just don't see it being effective. Yeah. I don't have faith in them to do it effectively. So I do see them doing that because I don't know if USA is going to be like, well, we pay just as much as like Fox. I mean, well, they didn't, but you know, if they're to say, hey, well, we're paying this much money, why are they getting all of this talent? We have a longer show. Like theirs is only 2 hours. Shouldn't we be getting more talent to spread across hours? Like, yeah, I think there might be enough pressure where WWE says, all right, fine, we'll have all our stars everywhere, especially now with no house shows. Like we can't do as many house shows as before with COVID and, with all these restrictions, and they're making less money they were making less at house shows if they were going to do it now. So they might as well, like with their contracts. When they worked out these contracts, they probably had a lot of house show dates that they were required to make, and now they're not having to make those. So now they can go, okay, well, you have 2 shows a week. We were probably having 3-4 house shows a week, and you had, your one television show. Now you just show up to your 2 television shows. So, I mean, I could see them doing that and saying, you know what, contractually with our independent contractors, it's not an issue. And it would make the corporate executives at NBC happy, and Fox as well for whatever star power that they might want to have on their show. But what are you going to do with all these titles now? You're going to have to merge them all. And how? Sure,
but I mean, it wouldn't be the first time that they've gotten rid of titles. And to answer your question, okay, Corey, so you say that the molding of the brands didn't really seem to work, but let's look at what we had when we were kids, dude. SmackDown and Raw were just different shows, and everybody was on the same channel, on the same shows, and you had storylines would just go from show to show, and a different part of each thing would happen on each show. So it's been proven that it worked, and it worked great.
But here's the thing, is that it became the same show across both. Like during this time, you'd watch SmackDown, and SmackDown would be half an hour of SmackDown, if not more, was catching people up on what happened on Raw. You know, like SmackDown was just a continuation of what happened on Raw, and then on Raw they'd say, "Hey, this is what happened on SmackDown in case you missed it, and that's why these people are feuding now." And here you go, and it didn't really. They push the same people all the time. So if we're getting Roman Reigns on SmackDown, and that's a SmackDown show, imagine Roman Reigns taking up just as much time on Raw, and all the big guys having equal proportions on each show, and then you have all the the younger talent, so to speak, without not necessarily younger.
Well,
but
here's a thought that can go right along with that, though. Like, I've said this for years in the same way, and the reason why I think, like we talked about a little earlier in the show with the Owen Cup that's coming, this is where I think, why things need to matter more. Because when you've got like the Royal Rumble, for example, what if they started putting a stipulation into where, I don't know, whoever wins the Royal Rumble, it gets something for their brand. This is why, like, if you're going to have two brands,
you already win the.
But let me finish though. The reason what I'm saying is though, this is why I feel like there needs to be more conflict in between the two brands. If you're going to keep a brand split, like especially with us going into a pay-per-view like Survivor Series, where it's supposed to be Raw versus SmackDown, why not have like it's your big pay-per-views like Money in the Bank, SummerSlam, Royal Rumble, WrestleMania, whatever.
What about this? The elimination
have
match,
more interpromotional stuff. You know what I mean?
The elimination match where they have SmackDown versus Raw, right? Say the person who gets the most pins for their brand gets a title shot against so and so on the brand. Like, say it's the general manager would say, "Hey, if we win, whoever gets the most pins, you get a title shot against the United States or the Intercontinental Champion." Or, and you get to pick the stipulation, or you get a just straight up title shot against the heavyweight title, if it's WWE champion or Universal, whatever champion that might be. But it'd almost be the option C, so to speak.
I just am saying, like, if you had more battling in between the brands, you could put stipulations on them that would make that seem more thing. And with there being more of that, you would never know when somebody's coming in, because look at how hyped people got a couple years ago when they just added NXT. When NXT was showing up on Raw and SmackDown, and Aleister Black and Ricochet are beating the shit out of people on Raw and then are on SmackDown. And then you got Adam Cole showing up and wrestling on SmackDown. I mean, people were genuinely excited to see what happened. That's why I think if you don't have more battling in between the brands, if you're going to keep the brand split, I feel like it never can truly be effective.
You said if you say that one more time.
I'm saying if you don't have more feuding in between the brands, I don't think the brand split will ever be able to truly be effective, because having them fight back and forth, that's why you would see, think of it like a sports team, or even think of it like a gang, bro. SmackDown's, the blue side, the red side, is Raw. And I mean, yeah, I mean, sure. But, you get my point. If you gave a shit and could tell me why you give a shit about SmackDown, or if you're on Raw, tell me why you give a shit about Raw being
that's why I suggested title shots, incentives, bonuses.
That's what I'm saying. Put more stipulations on stuff.
The only way you're going to get, so to speak, brand loyalty, it's not going to be like, hey, win this match and we get an extra draft pick, or we get to take somebody from their roster. If I'm a wrestler, I'd be like, well, why do I want to win this match? If we lose, you mean to tell me we could lose some competition? There'd be one less guy I got to worry about trying to get his way to the title. Why would I want to win this match? Like, wow, you know what I mean? Like, so if you give the individual wrestlers a reason to want to represent their brand, such as a title shot, or you could pick, say, I don't know, for example, Chris Jericho. I know this is going across the country, cross companies. But like Chris Jericho wanted a match against MJF. You could say, hey, you could get a match against anyone you want at any stipulation you want. And if somebody had lost a feud with somebody, they were like, well, I want one last match against this guy, and I want to pick the stipulation, da-da-da-da. Like that would make some sense. But I don't see
and
doing
that's what
it.
I'm saying. Somehow that would be the only way I really can see that being. I don't know. That's just the only way I really see that being able to like.
They got to spice it up. They got to spice up this brand rivalry.
Right. In order for that to stay live and for it to keep working, in my opinion, there needs to be some type of refresher to it. But here's the craziest part. We're talking about this draft and we're talking about all these things. You're talking about all this brand supremacy stuff, and that's what they've been talking about on, with Survivor Series coming, but you're doing a draft
2 weeks
in a few weeks. Right. So how much brand loyalty do I really got if I just got drafted here a fucking week ago?
This is why wrestlers need to come out and do their promos and say, I don't care about brand loyalty. I care about my brand worth. Not the brand of the show. I'm talking my brand. I want my brand to go up, my value to go up. So if I perform well for my brand that I work for, my actual brand, like that'd be the only real promo I could see someone coming out and doing. Like I'm just.
I got a whole nother idea when it comes to the draft, and I'm glad you brought that up. I mean, here's the thing: you put a draft that close to something like that with Survivor Series again. Why do I care? Why do those people care that they're on Raw or SmackDown if you just got traded over there?
Unless you're going to have a reject at your last brand.
Right. Sure. And that's why I'm saying. So again, here's another way that you can put incentive into it, right? So you got the big Survivor Series match, right? Why not do the draft right after Survivor Series? Have it be like when you do the 5-on-5 match, have the first person to get
a rating before the series.
No,
so that way they can get people.
I know why they're doing it that way, but I'm just saying of ways to spice things up. What if you have in the Survivor Series match, the first person who gets eliminated is up on the trading block first, or if your team wins. Your team wins Survivor Series, you either get, whatever. You either get whatever the prize be, whether we're talking about more picks or
they could have an elimination match amongst themselves to decide who wants the title shot.
Yeah, and whoever ultimately loses gets automatically shipped to the other brand. Whatever, whatever the case. You know what I mean? Like, here's another question in the comments. Have the WWE drafts changed throughout the years? Not really in format wise. I would say the biggest.
I'll wait for you. I'll wait. Sorry.
Well, no, you're good. All I was going to say is the only thing I've really seen different is at least the first couple drafts when it was, 2002, 2003, 2004. They really still did a better job, I feel like, of like illustrating what why they made a bigger deal out of people going from brand to brand. There was more talk about brand supremacy and things, and like they did a lot of drastic switches right in the beginning. Like if you remember, the Dudley Boys got split up when the draft happened. The Hardy Boys got split up when the draft happened.
Yeah,
but he's asking what are the differences in the drafts. I'm saying there were more stakes in the beginning.
WWE is notorious for just breaking people up in the draft for no reason. Like, oh, we'll draft one guy out of the tag team. Like they do that.
Sure, but were any of those teams as big of? Sure, but was Heavy Machinery even nearly as close?
To
being as big of a tag team as the Dudley Boys? I'm saying they had more. They had more
guys. Devon and Bubba Ray, and I guess Bubba Ray, Bully Ray, showed it later on in Impact. He could have been a top guy. Like either one of those guys could have been a top guy at another company. They had charisma. They could talk. The Hardy Boys. Hardy's push was a failure in WWE, but he's shown otherwise that he can be deserving of a push. Jeff Hardy was going to be a breakout star. Look at Heavy Machinery. You had Otis, and Otis will be all right. He'll be a mid-carder who will make his money at being a comedy gimmick. He will always have his place. There will always be a place for Otis. But Tucker, his career was ruined. What purpose does Tucker have now? And then they put Otis with who? Gable, right? Like,
right, but
why?
that's exactly. But that goes into
value.
what
They do it for shock
right.
value.
But that's what goes in. That's what's going into my point. I'm saying when the draft first started, it was a lot bigger deal to see some of these people get split up. Now at this point, it's gotten to the point where when the draft comes around, you know somebody's going to get split. You don't know who it is. Where back in the day when you saw a team like the Dudley Boys who had the equity that they had get split up, it's like, oh shit. Like they're splitting them up. Back then, I feel like it had more of a deal where now, as we can tell, and I mean, that's a perfect way to jump into that. I mean, the tag team titles don't even nearly mean as much as they used to. I mean, I like RK Bro.
Throw people together.
Right. Well, that's what I was getting at. Look what happened with the female tag team titles. You just had Nikki ASH, who was just your Raw champion, and Rhea Ripley, who was just your Raw champion, and we're feuding against each other.
And now we're going to be
we're going to be partners, and now we're tag team champions.
The strange bedfellows story again. Just like John Cena and Shawn Michaels. Oh, we hate each other, and we're battling it out for the title, but oh, look at that. We just captured the Raw tag team titles.
And right, you had all that with Natalya and Tamina, and then they just go, they just go do some shit like that. And then what's crazy is it's like Nikki ASH, it's like they're already not even acknowledging the fact that she was just champion. Like, I don't know, man. I mean, like I say, that's my whole point, though. Like, they don't. WWE's never been a big place for tag teams. That's a known fact.
You had written on the show sheet, will Vince ever take the women's tag titles seriously? And I feel like now is as good a time as any to
all right,
get on that. And because you had just brought up, WWE's always been a bad place for tag teams. But we should all know that. Do we, Corey, do you know why that is? Why Vince hates tag teams? I can run it for you real quick.
No, go elaborate.
Okay, so the basis of it is Vince feels he's pushing more money into two people because two people are wearing one shirt. So think about it. If you're a consumer, you're only buying one shirt. So he's viewing wrestlers as shirt models, t-shirt models. Who's going to sell?
I don't know that I agree with that, dude.
Shoot interviews of guys over the past that said this is why he hates them. He views it as less money because it's two guys modeling one shirt. He'd rather have one guy modeling one shirt so he's paying two people to sell one shirt.
Yeah, he's able to build basically one brand off of two people compared to building.
No, and I understand that.
I'd rather pay one person to model a shirt than two.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah, he would rather be able to build two separate brands off of two separate people compared to doing what the current tag team would be, which is, like you say, the ability to sell one shirt because essentially both of your faces are going to be forever ingrained in what your tag team is or was. So yeah, I get what you're saying.
Do we actually think Vince is woke? Who here, by show of hands, believes Vince is a woke human being and actually cares? Or do you think he just cares about the bottom line? He's a businessman.
PR department that makes sure to run stuff by the.
Yes. So he doesn't even really want a men's tag team division. He's shown that through the years. That this women's tag team division idea was one that was said, yeah, you should do this. Doesn't have to actually why should he take it any more seriously than the WWE tag team titles? And does he even have to? He set the bar so low with the men's tag team titles. If they say that they don't treat the women's tag team titles like to have any importance, you just look and go, well,
although, I mean,
it's no different with the
look
men's.
At the men's right now, though. You say look at the men's, but they've got two credible teams with the tag titles right now. You got the Usos, got them on SmackDown.
Those are the only.
That's my point. But maybe they finally see that shit. Now I don't think that's going to ooze.
How many legitimate tag teams do they have in WWE though? They put them on.
You got
the Usos and what the New Day.
The Usos, the Street Profits. You got you got the Street Profits. There's I gotta sit and think about it, dude.
Yeah, you got
RK Bro on Raw. RK Bro has been fine.
You're
I mean,
considering
they've had them together for like 6 months. I mean, shit.
but they were thrown together. I'm not saying
Dude,
I
it
don't
was like
them.
the classic story. Look at when Austin and Dude Love were put together. They had a whole story to that. I mean, I don't expect them to be a long-term team. We both know they're gonna. We both know they're gonna eventually blow up. But I mean, hey, dude, if you'd say that it's not,
I wouldn't call them a legitimate.
What about Ray and Dom? What about Ziggler and Rude?
Father-son is different, and Ziggler and Rude have been together for a long time now.
Okay, that's a legitimate team, though, aren't it?
Well, yeah, but Ziggler and Rude have been together pre-pandemic.
But you just said how many legitimate teams were there, though.
Yeah, but Ziggler and Rude have been together long enough.
What about the War Raiders?
You mean the Viking Raiders?
They're whatever Viking Raiders, War Raiders. They were called the War Raiders.
Yes, they're a legitimate team. But you still have to think long and hard. It's not. You act like it's a stacked division, though.
No, it's not at all. I'm not saying it is. Oh, I'm not saying it, but AEW has flat out said that they want to put an emphasis on the tag team division, though. You just said yourself, we know that WWE doesn't.
Well, and my point is you have to think very hard to find.
No, I agree. I'm not arguing that at all, dude. Like I'm just saying they do have some teams, and that's what's sad about it. If they would actually put some time into it,
all the good teams. They had Otis and Tucker. They had Gable and Jordan.
Jason Jordan got hurt.
Yes. Yeah, but he got cleared at some point, didn't he?
No, he didn't.
I thought he'd just been working in the back because.
No.
Oh, okay. Well, that's news to me then.
Yeah, he ain't coming back. It was too much of a risk for him to get hurt.
Well, that's unfortunate. I thought he was just working in the back, and then they said, you know what, we'll keep you back here. I didn't hear that he was his injuries were that terminal, so to speak.
Yeah, I mean, I think it was just one of those things from what I had heard that he had, it was dangerous for him to get back in the ring, so he's staying back in the back. Now, could he come back out? I mean, hell, we've seen Bryan Danielson come back at this point. We've seen CM Punk come back at this point. We've seen Edge come back at this point. I mean, Christian. I mean, hot damn. I'm not saying that might not happen, but like I said, now is as good a time for any.
You know what match I want to see CM Punk wrestle? Just a quick side note.
Who?
CM Punk and Dr. Z-Pack. What's his name? The doctor from WWE that he was suing and whatever, or that tried to sue him, and he was giving him Z-Packs. For his MRSA. He just kept prescribing him more Z-Packs. So I call him Dr. Z-Pack.
I forgot all about that one, but there is a match that I want to talk about because it's something that jumped out to Corey as well. We also saw, like I said, you got Brock Lesnar coming back for Roman Reigns. I mean, what are your thoughts on the return of Roman Reigns and where we see this going? Because Paul Heyman's kind of playing both sides of the fence right now. He's kind of stuck between a rock and a hard place. He knows what Brock Lesnar's capable of, and Roman Reigns has been his meal ticket.
Yeah, but so if you're asking for my thoughts, at least, I'm sure Brock Lesnar's. He's reaching the end of his continued comeback.
Carlito back? Is that what he said?
Like he unless he plans on becoming like the Goldberg or something like that, where he just continues to show up, all the way throughout to his 50s. I imagine his returns are going to be a lot less frequent, leading into the future. I know he just signed an exclusive deal, but for how long? Do you guys know?
He signed a multi-year deal, so he's around for at least a few more years.
Yeah, but how many appearances in the?
Well, he's not. But that doesn't really apply when we're talking about Brock Lesnar, because even in his last 2 contracts he had before that, he was one of the first ones that was able to originate one of those contracts where, he made like $13 million the other year and only had 12 appearances.
Yeah.
So, you can't really count appearances when we're talking about Brock Lesnar, because I don't think he'll ever be on a completely full-time schedule again.
Well, what I'm saying is because he just signed that deal, I could see him possibly winning this match because it would shine the huge light and build the already gigantic mountain that is Brock Lesnar's ego even taller. But that being said, also Roman's like their cash cow at the moment, so it's always interesting because, you know, you see the two biggest men that I guess that wrestling could put together at the moment. And there's a reason why, like you had mentioned before, that's the fight that, like, they're wanting to get in Saudi Arabia because all the princes that are helping bring that card over there are wanting to see the two biggest men that they can get. So
I would tell them to pay me up front and a bonus if they were to want that match in Saudi Arabia. Like, sorry, I made a side point.
Dude, if you think that Brock Lesnar ain't getting paid out the ass for them Saudi Arabia shows, you crazy.
Well, I mean, even look at to bring it back to MMA for a short second. I had just watched like a short little mini series basically on what it all took for Fight Island. And Fight Island was so expensive, but not Saudi Arabia because that was the UAE at the
United Arab Emirates.
Yeah. But they funded literally all the travel of all the athletes, all the COVID testing. They paid the UFC as if every seat was sold out for where they were initially planning on having those events take place at. So they went so above and beyond to be able to not only do everything they could to put on the matches, they did everything they could to kind of selectively choose which athletes they would get to perform over there, essentially.
And while doing so, they mitigated the losses of the pandemic for the UFC.
Yeah. It couldn't have went better in the UFC's regard, but I also feel like with these princes and their ability to throw money at things they would like to see, the WWE is going to take full advantage of that, and so we're going to see the most stacked thing we can see out there.
My point was, if they're going to ask for those things, you got to ask for bonuses. Mm-hmm. Say, well, we didn't discuss all that. When you said
dude, Brock Lesnar's got them by the balls when it comes to money. You know that, dude.
Yes.
They talk about all the time how Brock's like one of the best businessmen in wrestling.
Because I'm gonna say on WWE's end, and I don't know the details of his contract, but how in the world, like, because I know they always have a certain set amount that he's supposed to do. Like, you were asking how many actual appearances are in said contract. But if I'm WWE, I don't know how I'm not working in a clause of, hey, we can get extra appearances for X amount of dollars after that. It's kind of like getting paid OT. You know, you're not scheduled OT.
Dude, and they worked plenty of that in with his last run, though. That's why he kept coming back.
I think a lot of that boils down to, though, you're not paying Brock Lesnar to make appearances, kind of like Kyle was noting. You're paying to have Brock Lesnar's name on your roster, whether he's active or not. The ability to, like you were saying earlier, sell t-shirts in his name and likeness. Put him in your video games. Just simple branding, stuff like that. I feel
he's also there to keep ratings, because a lot of people say ratings don't matter, but tell that to Fox, who's getting pissed, right? They're saying, hey, we want Brock, we want this person, we want that person, because we want a certain amount of numbers for our show. Having Brock, yes, name and likeness, and to be able to sell all those things, but it is also the star power of what the ratings he could pop on television. And even more so, I think it's to make sure other companies can't have Brock Lesnar.
Oh, I think that's got a lot to do with it too, because I mean, let's look at all the money that's been being thrown out by AEW. But while we're on the subject of contracts, I saw in the comments everybody was talking about Carlito. WWE didn't offer him a contract when he went there. He actually,
a long time ago. They lowballed him,
but
apparently.
no, but what he was asking about, right? But he specifically was asking about when he came back for Royal Rumble in the episode of Raw. I watched an interview that one of our past guests, which if you haven't already done so, hit that motherfucking subscribe button, Chris Van Vliet just did with Carlito. And Carlito talked about how there was a lot of talk about him wanting him to do some stuff backstage, and that he had looked good and that the door was open for him to come back. But I don't know that there was a contract offered when he came back with the Royal Rumble. I definitely think that door will always be open for Carlito, but I don't think it was necessarily, was necessarily the case. JKB talking about if we can't find a worthy competitor, then all you're watching is Brock Lesnar destroy people. Exactly, which is why I have no problem with him going away till you do it, because even though we've already seen Roman versus Brock,
I'm not the only one to call him Broman tonight.
Hey man, I guess Broman. But yeah, man, it's the thing is though, this is a totally different. Yeah, the Broman Brains. He might have beat Roman Reigns, but he didn't beat Roman Reigns. All right, look, dude. If you really look at it, the Roman Reigns that we got now is nowhere near the same Roman Reigns that was around the last time they faced each other. Which
that suffering succotash.
I guess, but
you don't remember that? You don't remember that promo? He's out here saying you sound like a whole some suffering succotash, and yes, that was hard to say. Like, whoa.
I mean, like I said, I do remember that now that you remind me. Thank you for the memory refresher. But like I said, man, I mean, it's a totally different match this time. I think if anything, and Brock Lesnar, say what you want about the guy, Brock will come in there and do business, bro. I mean, Brock is not coming in there, I got to kill Roman. We've seen that Brock will do business as long as it's done right. So, like I said, I think that this match will be good whenever it happens. As far as Extreme Rules this weekend, I just hope to God that we don't see it completely kill Finn Balor, because this is the first time we're getting to see the Demon on Raw or SmackDown. And it's being losing. I agree with that, and it shouldn't be being looked at as an afterthought, seeing as he only does this once in a great while. But again, that's all the more reason why we got to see what's going to happen Sunday, and we'll talk a little bit more about our overall preview of Extreme Rules, as Thursday we're going to be joined by our homie and the manager of, well, not the manager of, the head honcho of Cage Side Management, who is the manager of buddies of ours like Bobby Nash. We've heard you guys comment in the comments about XFC. We're going to have Liam on. We're going to break down UFC. What number are we at, Corey? UFC 260 what? 266?
Oh Lord, I forget it week to week. I have no idea.
Anyway, it's on my motherfucking birthday.
I am the worst to ask about that.
UFC, whatever it is, you got Volkanovski versus Ortega, and then you've also got man, that card's gonna be a banger, bro. And you got the return of Nick Diaz. Nick Diaz versus Robbie Lawler, even though that fight should have happened a long time ago. I'm still down to see those guys scrap. And it's on my birthday.
While you're on the topic of that fight, breaking news. That fight has been changed from a welterweight fight to a middleweight fight at last.
What? Why? I mean, for Robbie Lawler, I can see it, but when in Nick Diaz's life were you ever 185 pounds?
I'm just saying, breaking news, happened to look down at Twitter for a second and seeing breaking news, fight is being changed. So figured that
now we've got even more to talk about with Liam come Thursday, dude. I just know that I'm looking forward to this one. Corey's got it right there. Again, shout out to Kathy and Twisted Tumblers. You see, my little homie Jaden is going to be ready to make his motherfucking debut on Knockouts and 3 Counts because he's already got a cup. So that's all the more reason why you got to hit that like button, them comment buttons, that motherfucking subscribe button, so that you don't miss any of it. Because like I said, you never know who could be pulling up around Knockouts and 3 Counts. Hell, my mom tried to do a run-in today. Who's going to be next? And, I mean, with that being said, I mean, like I said, next week there's a lot to look forward to, as we're going to have, like I said, Gil Gordado of Extreme Couture will be joining us next Friday, not Thursday, but it'll be next Friday. But we got great stuff coming from you at Knockouts and 3 Counts, and we'll be talking about the clip fight that's going down this Friday, as we talked about a little bit earlier in this show. So until next time, and in the in-between time, I appreciate you guys. And
stay tuned for the debut of Broman Brains next week. He'll be joining us.
Broman Brains?
I mean, hell, they renamed Rick Steiner's kid Bron Breaker, so I mean, shit.
Broman Brains.
We went from Rex Steiner to Bron Breaker, and we can't even acknowledge the fact that he's part of the fucking Steiners. The Steiners, who happen to be from Detroit. You don't want to mention that he's part of from one of the families who are arguably two of the best collegiate wrestlers that have ever come to wrestling. Multi-time tag team champion, world champion, all that. But we don't want to.
Excellent mathematician, Scott Steiner. Noted.
I mean, shit. If you need to learn your addition, I mean,
if you need to learn your fractions, 66 and 2/3 chance, and you'll end up with over 100% chances every something. You know what?
Big Papa Pump is your hookup.
Yep,
you might not want to holler at him if you need to learn your fractions, though. But we are your hookup when it comes to the podcast game. So, again, make sure you hit that subscribe button. We will see you back here Thursday, 9 p.m. And the final countdown's on. I only got one more year left till I hit 30. Fuck, I'm getting old. Peace.
Fuck. Brains next week.
Broman Brains.